and sisters in Christ, happy Sabbath day.
Sabbath day.
The doctrine I'm going to be preaching about is the doctrine of the laws that we live under. The Melchizedek priesthood, the Levitical priesthood, and the basic laws of when God created the world. So, to understand what laws we live under, we have to understand the laws that God created in the past. So, in the first verse in Genesis chapter 2 verse 3 is one of the laws that God created when he created the world. And it's found in Genesis 2 verse 3. Which 2 verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So it's simple and it's easy to do to just take a rest in the seventh day after all the work you do, like God did. God created the world in 6 days, as everyone knows, and he created the seventh day to rest. So it's part of his law. It's one of the first laws that he created when he created the world. Another law that he created is found in Genesis 4:8-12. Genesis 4:8-12. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth into me from the ground. Now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be on the earth. So, this is an example of one of the other laws that God set when he created the world. Thou shalt not kill. But when people are forced to do things, when people have feelings to do things like Cain did, it's hard to follow these laws, especially for thou shalt not kill, because there's a lot of killing nowadays, and people don't even think when they kill people sometimes. But as pertaining to the church, we should do everything in our power not to kill people. So, because that's one of the original commandments that God created when he created the world. Another example of another commandment is found in Genesis chapter 7 verse 2. For every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. So this was the time when Noah was bringing animals to the ark. He knew in that time that there were clean and unclean animals, and he set a law that there are clean and unclean animals, that you shouldn't touch the unclean animals, and for the clean animals you should eat, and so forth. And for another basic law is found in Genesis chapter 12, 14-18. So, and it came to pass that when Abram came into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. The princess also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and manservants and maidservants, and she asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? So this is a basic case of adultery, which is also one of the basic laws that God set when he created the world. Another law which is about tithing is found in also in Genesis 14:18 to 20. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. So even then, back then, even in the book of Genesis, when the world was still young, there was tithes, and God created that law of tithes as well. And so in the beginning in Genesis, where there's all these laws of the seventh day, no killing, clean and unclean, adultery and tithing, all of these verses are proof that these laws weren't created when the Ten Commandments was created, which is found in Exodus 20. Some people think that I know they think that the laws were created when the Ten Commandments were created, but this is proof in Genesis, even in Genesis, that God set basic laws for people to follow. And the Ten Commandments that everyone knows is found in Exodus 20, but the significance of the Ten Commandments was when Moses barely got the commandments from Mount Sinai, and when he went down and saw the sin of his people, of his Israelites, and said, who is on the Lord's side? That's when the law had to change, because only Levi as a whole people, they followed Moses when he asked that. Everyone else was all scattered or was like everywhere and then was doing sinful stuff. So God had to change that for Israel's sake. So for more reading, it's found in Exodus chapter 32 verse 26. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together into him. So it wasn't just some of the Levites, it wasn't just most of the Levites, it was all of the Levites who went to Moses. And that's why God did something to the Levites that would change the law, which is explained in the book of Deuteronomy. And the verse is found in Deuteronomy chapter 10, 8 to 9. At that time, the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord to minister unto him, and bless in his name. Wherefore Levi hath no part nor inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance, according to the Lord thy God promised him. So in this verse, the Lord gave permission for the Levites to bear the Ark of the Covenant, which was a really precious thing because it held the original Ten Commandments. And after that is found in Deuteronomy 31, 24 to 27 of what happens next. And it came to pass when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. So during this time in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses created a law. He created it by hand, not like God of the Ten Commandments, where God created the Ten Commandments, but for the extra laws that Moses had to create by hand, he put at the side of the covenant. So the law of God, which God created, the 10 Commandments, is inside the covenant, and the added laws were at the side of the covenant of the ark. So it just means that there are the two laws: the law created by God and law created by Moses, which was a man. And for more reading about the Levitical law is found in Colossians chapter 3, verse 19. Wherefore then serveth the law? It was added because of transgressions, till the seed should come to whom the promise was made, and it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator. So in this verse, the added law was created because of their transgressions of Israel and why they didn't follow the commandments that God set. And also the added laws were created for three purposes. They were created for to be a witness of Israel's transgression, to help Israel do what needs to be done, and to be separate from the law of man and the law of God. So during that time when Israel was scattered in the wilderness, they had to follow the Levitical priesthood, which was strict and was like either you die or you pay a lot more for whatever because you did something wrong, and that's just to be forgiven of it. So for our time, we are in the Levitical priesthood. But how did the Melchizedek priesthood? We're in the Melchizedek priesthood. For our time, we're in the Melchizedek priesthood. But how did that happen? How are we in the Melchizedek priesthood and not still in the Levitical priesthood? It is found in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 17. For he testified, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. If we continue to read in the New Testament, he stands for Jesus, and that he is the priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. But how is he the priest of the Melchizedek priesthood? We'll keep on reading from Hebrews chapter 7, 11 to 12. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made for necessity a change also of the law. God knew that the Levitical priesthood was made by Moses' hand, which was a man. Even though Moses was like a really good person, even though God regarded him as a high person, Moses was still a man, and the Levitical law was created by man, so it had to be flawed in many ways. I mean, if you look in modern times, if you look at the laws of the court, or like laws right now that are created by man, it says that like a judge can judge people even though they're like man. There's lots of flaws in that law of the laws right now. But if you look at God's laws that he created now, it makes pure sense. So let's keep on reading in Ephesians chapter 2, 14 to 16, how the Levitical law was removed. Ephesians chapter 2, 14 to 16. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall partition between us, having abolished his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both into God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby. So it's talking about the law of the Levitical priesthood. When God sacrificed himself for us, that's when the law of the Levitical priesthood was already destroyed, and so we can just follow what Jesus did. But what did Jesus do that we have to follow him and follow new laws? And which laws of the Levitical priesthood were already deceased? It's found in Galatians chapter 3, 10 to 14. For as many are of the works of the law are under the curse, for it is written, Cursed is every one that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. But what no man is justified by the law in the sight of God. It is evident, for the just shall live by faith. And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them. Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, Cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree. So that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. So the law was done away with when Christ was being at the cross, but the Levitical law was also a curse that when we like, if it was still in effect today, then we would be in trouble. So the laws that were done away with were laws that had nothing to do with the older laws, which were there since the creation, like thou shalt not kill, or adultery, and the seventh day of rest. But we shouldn't be confused of some of the laws that are still in the Levitical law. For example, in Exodus 20 verse 13, it says thou shalt not kill, and in Leviticus chapter 24 verse 17, it's basically the same thing, that if one shall kill, they shall die themselves. But you have to make sure that you have to follow the law of the 10 Commandments, like thou shalt not kill. My last verse is found in 1 Peter chapter 2, 21 to 23. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again, when he suffered he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live into righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. So in the Melchizedek priesthood, we have to try our best to be like Jesus. Even though we can't be perfect, even though we're just humans, he was human as well. And if we live by faith, and if we follow the commandments, then we'll be able to continue being with Jesus. And that's the end of my preaching, and I hope that guys learned something, that we have to follow the Melchizedek priesthood.